Hi, this is Arna, and I am in Safat, Israel, the home of Kabbalah, well known to many famous Kabbalah artists here. Kabbalah is the mystical branch of Judaism. And now we will learn some lessons, important life lessons, from one of Safat's most well-known artists. The Tree of Life, or Etz Hayim, is an important symbol in Kabbalah.
A tree gives one kind of fruit normally, and here we see that this tree gives many kinds of fruits or flowers, different colors. So how come? That reminds us two ideas. One is that every day is a new day, that we can get out of ourselves, create a new fruit, a new success. We should never give up. And also another idea is that as the fruits are different, so the people are different. And each one has its own fruit to create in this world. And we should never compare people or children or expect our lovers to be what we want them to be. As we said, each one has its own fruit. Circle of life always change. People say that life is ups and downs, but in Judaism we say that life always change to be better, because once you go down, you can see that there is no other way but to go up again. So in the Kabbalah it says that the real reason for us falling is because we have to stand up again. And sometimes you can't step another step before you lose the last step. Even when you're climbing stairs, there is not half a second, 1 millionth of a second that your legs are like almost, they're on the air. You're not there and you're not there. You lose the previous step and you're gonna reach the next one. The idea that each fall is just to stand up again, just for standing up. And the points around the circle represent the days around the year. So, one day comes, one day goes, but each day can be a party. There are kind of turquoise strings that comes out in between the branches of the tree, and they are like roots of energy. They are like meridians. Once a person think good or do good, he affect the world. He created those meridians and he affect the world by doing and thinking good. And when he needs his blessings, he gets through the same veins that he created all the blessings that he need back to him. When you have strong roots, you can break all limits. We can see that the tree kind of broke the limit of the circle and he started dancing to the sky. The last idea is those eyes in the trunk. The psychologists, people say that once you paint an eye or a knot, this dark thing in a trunk, it means that you had a trauma. They even measure the trunk and the eye where you painted it to tell you in which years it was in your life, or even what happened. It was mom, dad, whatever. Anyway, we see there are many traumas here, but they're full with light. That tells us that especially the traumas brings light to our life.
Thank you for sharing these important universal lessons and truths on your beautiful tree of life.
Arna, the labyrinth is a wonderful tool or metaphor for life's journey. Find out how walking along a labyrinth tells you more about yourself.
A deeper answer, in my opinion, is that this was an already very sacred spot in the landscape in the island of Maui, and we were the fortunate ones to land here, and I didn't want to keep it to ourselves because it's so beautiful and so magnificent that we ended up opening it up to the public. So the secret method of the labyrinth is that its language is metaphor. So whatever you experience as you walk in the labyrinth is symbolic or metaphoric of what you need to see in yourself off the labyrinth. So there's a number of ways to walk it. One, you can walk it like a path of peace and prayer and contemplation, the way you would do any kind of walking meditation. But I like to use it in addition or instead or in addition to as a path of self-discovery. And you're not walking the labyrinth to learn about the labyrinth, you're walking the labyrinth to learn about you. And so as you walk it, if you're self-observant and you notice what you notice, you'll see that what you do on the labyrinth is also what you do off the labyrinth, but this gives you a confined space in which to practice doing it differently. So if you're impatient on the labyrinth, it gives you a place to see what happens when you let go of your impatience. Or if you're judgmental on the labyrinth, like, why is that person walking it that way, or what's that brick doing out of place? You're probably judgmental off the labyrinth. And if you're full of self-doubt, am I doing this right? Am I going too fast? You're probably full of self-doubt off the labyrinth as well. So it gives you an opportunity to see what you do and then make decisions as to whether it's really serving you or not. And ultimately brings you into a place of being present, connected to your authenticity, and able to access the resources within you for managing all the things around you. So for me, the labyrinth is a perfect metaphor for reminding us that we need to bring ourselves back into the center. And I call accessing our soul so that we can access solutions to all that goes on around us. And Einstein said, you can't solve problems from the same kind of thinking that created them. So when we create problems from the drama of the ego mind, and then we try to solve problems from that same kind of thinking, we get spun out and we lose our way. And if we simply stop and drop in and find our centers, find our authentic selves, and connect to that soul aspect, we then see a complete different perspective on what's going on around us, and we bring forth different tools and skills for managing all of that. It's the different mindset that Einstein was talking about. And for me, the labyrinth is a beautiful way to practice that, bringing ourselves back into a balance, observing ourselves, noticing what we're doing, taking that deep breath, bringing ourselves back, and continuing on in alignment with who we are and what we want to create. It's very beautiful, very peaceful, and very powerful.
As you can see, visiting a labyrinth can bring a lot of information about parts of your life that need healing. So I encourage you to find a labyrinth and enjoy the process. I stopped off in Paris, France, and I visited one of my favorite art stores in the world, Sennelier. One of the reasons I love Sennelier is they create wonderful pastels, and these pastels were actually used by some of the great Impressionist painters. I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Sennelier about the importance of luminosity or light. Why is luminosity or the light so important?
It's important because it's a life. It is the quality of the light, the intensity, the purity, the vibration in your body, in your mind, and you feel better. You feel much more better, more enthusiastic, more happy. It's very difficult to explain with a word. It's in your body. And how to explain. The words are difficult to transmit by the word that you feel in your body.
This is what happens on a Soul Sunday at my retreat space. What you're watching now is a group of people who have just done a healing journey and have received a message designing a piece of art that speaks to them. And here, what we're using is what I call mixed media. That includes paint, tiles, tissue paper, metallic paints, and all kinds of layering opportunities. So what you're seeing here is people working in silence because they've received a message, and the message today they received was from a treasure box. that they found waiting on top of a mountain. And that's what you see here. You can see that treasure box opening up with a message. And now what you're seeing are all the pieces of artwork put on the table. There are 8 of them. So what was really interesting with this is I had the clients arrange the piece of work, and they found some really interesting things. And here is what they found. On my recent journey to the beautiful red rocks of Sedona, Arizona, I learned some wonderful exercises to relax my body and decharge.
One of the easiest releases you can do for your whole body is just to decharge. Bounce. Let the breath come and go as it will. No holding, no contracting, and just let all the cells of the body wiggle and jiggle. Let the energy discharge through the feet, through the hands. Breathe it out. I also love to go into a swing. There's lots and lots of cool energy practices and movement practices that you can do. But I don't really like to align myself with any one modality. There are gems in all the traditions, and as you can see, this is very akin to a kind of Qigong sequence. And that work is fantastic, but I really like spontaneous Qigong, where you literally just move as you need to in that very moment, and that's always going to be different.
So basically, all of us have traumas throughout life. Nobody gets through life without some kind of traumas, physical, emotional, our aura body. And what I do with didgeridoo, Tibetan singing bowls, and gongs is to vibrate every one of the trillions of cells in the body. Now, Now those traumas get stuck in our tissues, our cells, and other parts of our body. And these instruments basically go in, vibrate those places where the traumas are so that they can bubble to the surface like a diver diving 50 feet underwater, and his air bubbles are coming up to the surface. And then we can work on releasing those traumas and bringing in forgiveness and other modalities for healing those wounds.
I am very fortunate to interview Dr. Brandy Quinn with her new book called The Fantasy of Death. Let's find out more about what this means.
Well, thanks first of all, Arna, for having me here. Very excited to talk about it. So The Fantasy of Death, it's a really short, easy read, so I'm hoping to get this information out to people. But first it starts out with my story about my near-death experiences that I've had, and then I move into a conversation about consciousness, quantum physics, sort of backing that up with some scientific evidence. So I'm trying to in my writing to bring together the mystic and the spiritual with the science about the truth that we are immortal and eternal in our consciousness. The reality is that we live forever. Not physically, of course, the body goes, but who we are at our core, our soul, that is our eternal immortal part. And no matter what religion, what belief, none of that, everyone, depending on their culture, they're going to believe that. But it's not about religion. It's about knowing that no matter what you believe, that you are immortal. Well, I think if we are moving through the world, not focused on the physical and the material, and that when we actually realize that we are eternal souls and we recognize our own divinity, that opens up a complete new perspective in the way we are actually then moving through our world on a daily basis. Your soul, your divine self, is immortal. Death is an illusion, a fantasy. There's no such thing as death of your true identity, your soul, consciousness, divine self, energetic part, the part that animates you. This soul part is not created and can never be destroyed. So if we look at the law of conservation of energy, the law of energy extends from the individual energetic fragments of consciousness that cannot be created nor destroyed into the collective unified field of one consciousness that cannot be created nor destroyed.